How would you react if your favorite restaurant raised its menu prices? Would you still frequent the restaurant as often? Or what if the price of airline tickets falls? Would you travel more? These are some questions that economists answer using the concept of elasticity. Elasticity describes how sensitive the responses of consumers and producers are to changes in prices or income. In this lecture, we will be describing three types of elasticity: price elasticity, cross elasticity, and income elasticity. These concepts have important implications on how consumers make purchases and how businesses set prices for their goods and services. Let's begin with the price elasticity of demand. Suppose that your favorite restaurant raises its menu prices by 10%. Although many customers, including you, might continue to eat at the restaurant, other customers may choose to eat elsewhere. Suppose that because of the price increase, the number of restaurant customers falls by 5%. The price elasticity of demand is calculated as the percentage change in the quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price. In our example, that would be negative 5% because the number of customers decreased, divided by 10%, the percentage increase in the price, which equals negative 0.5. This calculation will always be negative because the law of demand insists that quantity falls as price increases and vice versa. Yet, to simplify things, economists usually drop the negative sign and report the price elasticity of demand as a positive number, in this case, 0.5. What does this number mean? Price elasticity of demand can be placed into three general categories. A product with a price elasticity of less than 1 is inelastic. In other words, the quantity demanded is not very responsive to changes in price. A product with a price elasticity greater than 1 is elastic, or very responsive to changes in price. And a product with an elasticity equal to 1 is unitary elastic. Why does elasticity matter? What difference does it make if consumers react a lot or very little to price changes? Quite a bit, actually, as we will soon see. Inelastic goods and services have a steeper demand curve, which means that prices can fluctuate without a significant change in quantity demanded. For the restaurant, the 10% increase in menu prices will bring in more revenues than it would lose from having 5% fewer customers. When demand is inelastic, the restaurant will earn more revenues if it raises prices. Of course, elasticities can change, and various factors influence the elasticity of a good or service. These determinants of elasticity include 1. The substitutability. Are there acceptable alternatives to choose? If not, such as this lonely gas station, elasticity tends to be lower. 2. The proportion of income spent on a product. Are you more likely to react to a 10% rise in the price of hamburgers and fries, or a 10% rise in the price of a new car? 3. Luxuries versus necessities. Textbooks, for instance, are often necessities for taking a class, making the elasticity very low. And 4. The time period. Often consumers have more time to adjust to price changes, so a product such as gasoline becomes more elastic over time. Now that we have described the price elasticity of demand, let's answer an important question. At the start of each school term, office supply stores, such as Office Depot, Staples, and OfficeMax, have incredible sales on items such as paper, pens, and pencils. Because school supplies are priced low and necessary to complete schoolwork, they tend to be inelastic. Lowering the price will surely reduce revenues. So, why would these stores make such a foolish error? Because they are not foolish at all. In addition to purchasing school supplies, the start of the school term is also a time when students might look for a new computer or printer, higher priced items that are sold at the same office supply stores. Therefore, by lowering the price of school supplies to attract customers, stores are hoping to sell more computers and printers. This brings us to our second measure of elasticity, the cross-elasticity of demand, which is measured as the change in the demand for a product divided by the change in the price of a different product. Suppose that a store sells 20% more printers because it lowered the price of paper by 60%. In this case, the cross-elasticity of demand is 20% divided by negative 60%, which equals negative 0.33. But be careful. Unlike the price elasticity of demand, the sign for cross-elasticity of demand is very important. A negative sign means that the two products are complements. When the price of paper falls, consumers will buy more paper and more printers. However, when the cross-elasticity of demand is positive, the two goods are substitutes. If the price of apples rises, consumers may buy more pears, a substitute. We've now looked at two measures of elasticity, the price elasticity of demand and the cross-elasticity of demand. Our third measure of elasticity is the income elasticity of demand. Suppose that you graduate from college and secure a high-paying job. How would your consumption habits change? Would you buy nicer clothes, or a new computer, or other gadgets? Would you still stay in cheap motels when you travel, or eat at the cheapest cafes you can find? When income rises, one typically buys more of certain items and less of others. Income elasticity of demand is calculated as the percentage change in the demand for a product divided by the percentage change in income. Suppose that your income rises 50% and you spend 30% more on clothing. The income elasticity of clothing would be 30% divided by 50%, or 0.6. Like cross-elasticity, the sign of income elasticity matters. A positive income elasticity of demand means that a good is a normal good. This means that as income rises, one buys more. If income falls, one buys less. However, for other goods, such as cheap motels, one might reduce consumption as income rises or increase consumption when income falls. In this case, the income elasticity of demand would be negative, indicating an inferior good. Keep in mind that inferior goods are not necessarily inferior in quality. Ramen noodles are quite tasty, but as your income rises, you can afford to skip the noodles and trade up for heartier meals. Although we have focused to this point on the elasticity of demand, the elasticity of supply also exists. The price elasticity of supply measures the extent to which businesses react to price changes and is calculated as the percentage change in quantity supplied divided by the percentage change in price. The most important factor influencing the price elasticity of supply is time. It takes time to adjust production methods in response to price changes. When gasoline prices rose 10 years ago, oil producers reacted by producing more oil, while car manufacturers reacted by producing more fuel-efficient cars. These responses become stronger over time. To conclude, we have looked at various measures of elasticity. The price elasticity of demand, which measures how consumers react to changes in price. The cross-elasticity of demand, which measures how a change in the price of one good affects consumers' demand for another good. And income elasticity of demand, which measures how consumers react to changes in income. Each of these measures is important because they help to determine the products that businesses sell and the products that consumers buy.